So following on from Friday's video about the dev kit update to Conan Exiles, the dev team have confirmed an exact date for when Conan will be receiving its next patch, alongside giving a preview of some of the fixes, adjustments and content changes in the update. Today we'll be looking at exactly what the team has announced ahead of time and when this update is releasing. So let's get into it. Through a series of social media posts on Friday the 14th of March, the dev team posted a short preview blog showing some of the things coming in this next update. Bear in mind as we read through, this is a preview, this is not extensive patch notes, that will come later down the line, but we'll touch on that more later. The first major change announced is quite a shocking one to be fair, and that is the removal of the Fortress at Al-Merayah. This decision was apparently based on consistent feedback about performance, and thus the fortress will be removed and replaced with the Dogs of the Desert camp that was there prior. The cave relevant for the Sacred Hunt event will remain at that location and is the lore reason for the Dogs of the Desert returning to that area. Before the fortress was there was a dogs camp anyway, so it kind of makes sense. Now I've said many times that I think the fortress was a good idea, but in practice was not great. Even on PC, performance was pretty spotty at best, and honestly, just made me kinda want to avoid the savannah so I didn't have to deal with the constant frame drops. The fortress definitely did come with some benefits, a guaranteed legendary, explosive jars, battering rams. Those things will be missed, but also, most people will be able to tell you, if you went anywhere near the savannah, performance took a pretty big hit. I'm not sure if they plan to re-add the fortress in an instanced area in the future. I think that would be the best option if they were going to do so, but for now I think the benefits of removing Al-Merayah outweigh the cons. The second major change will be to the stamina system. The mechanic is being adjusted based on feedback about stamina costs being too high, and the devs want to meet the player base in the middle. If you think back to the Age of War Chapter 1, the dev team did a combat rework that adjusted how stamina performs, increasing the cost of jumps and attacks, but also heavily increasing how fast stamina regens, and how long you have to wait for that regen to begin. There's been some tinkering with it since, but as of this coming update, the cost of attacks will be reduced by 50%, but stamina regen is being increased to mostly match their old values. The change was initially made back in the Age of War to address complaints of things like dagger spam. I think this is something that will likely need to be played with for a bit to get a proper feel for and to be able to accurately assess how good or bad it is. Me personally, I didn't have too much of an issue with the stamina system, though admittedly I do far less combat than most others. One thing I regularly saw in my comments was annoyance of how it was near impossible to get a full combo off with some weapons, especially in the early game, and to be fair, that doesn't feel great if you can only swing your greatsword once or twice. The final important thing is the addition of a compass. This seems to be an actual item that you'll unlock through the new Wayfinder knowledge, then craft and keep in your inventory. It'll add a new heading indicator on your HUD next to your temperature gauge. I'm going to be honest, I don't need this, but it's fairly inoffensive. Something I see a fair amount of is people asking for a mini-map, which the devs will just never do, but this seems a decent solution for players that aren't as familiar with the landscape. Again, I will likely never use it, most of the experienced players out there will never use it, but if it helps new players keep their bearings, it'll be fine. Now of course, again this is merely a preview of what's to come, and the aforementioned features are just a few highlights. The blog post also says the update will contain a ton of fixes and changes of varying sizes, including fixing problems with companions, living settlements, building placements and more. That's what we're really looking for, to be honest, and of course when this update does drop I will be covering every single fix in detail. As for the release date, this update is coming on Tuesday, March 25th, 2025, so it's just over a week away. There isn't a public beta period for this update, but there may be betas for future patches. Hopefully the lack of beta client testing doesn't negatively affect the update itself. Quite frankly, that's the last thing we need. Anyway, that's about all for today. This news dropped a few hours before my Friday video about the dev kit update. It seems this sort of news always comes out just before a video I've already made on the topic, but alas. On Wednesday we'll be talking about this coming update again, as it seems there may be some changes to a well-known dungeon that I think some of you might find quite interesting. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it, and if you enjoy this video, leave a like as well, helps the channel out. Thank you for watching, and a massive thanks to our wonderful esteemed coffee cultists for continuing to support the channel over on Patreon. If you want to support the channel yourself, check out the Patreon through the link in the description, or join as a member here on YouTube by clicking join just below this video. Take care, and I'll see you soon.